The Super Mario Land series. Some of the weirdest Mario games Nintendo has ever made. These games are unlike pretty much anything else in the franchise. While there aren't a ton of regional differences between these games, there are some surprisingly interesting ones, especially when it comes to the box art and manuals. Since there aren't that many, why don't we also take a look at the differences between the 1.0 and 1.1 revisions of both games to see exactly what Nintendo changed. So without further ado, let's get into Super Mario Land. The first main difference that you'll see before even booting up the game is the logo. The logo for the international version is pretty iconic. It's just this basic red text, but the Japanese logo is pretty different. It used a different font, it has super on the top, and it's also this nice green color. In my opinion, I like this logo a lot better than the one that we got internationally. It just pops a lot more. The box art for Europe is pretty much the exact same as the American version. The only difference is between the Player's Choice copy, but that's because the Game Boy games that had Player's Choice look much different in Europe anyway, so obviously they would be different. But the Japanese version is where we can really see the differences. The most jarring difference, obviously, is the logo, which we've talked about before. It's positioned at the bottom of the game now. And of course, the box art style for Japanese Game Boy games is different, just like the European Player's Choice version. The Japanese version also has text at the top of the box that translates to Super Mario Land. It's also more zoomed out than the North American version, which allows us to see a few more enemies. We can see two Goombos to the left of Daisy. And in the sky, next to Sky Pop Mario, we can see the Slackatoo in an airplane, which isn't present in the North American box art, since it's cut off by the Game Boy logo. The back of the box is also pretty different too. The text is different in the Japanese version. A rough translation is, peaceful Sarasa Land has been conquered by the alien monster Yutanga. Princess Daisy is in danger. To rescue the princess and restore peace, Mario's adventure begins. Powerful enemies await him along the way. Go Mario, go. This is much different than the North American version, which more so describes the gameplay of it, and also describes the enemies you'll encounter. This also just might be a translation difference, but Tatanga is actually called Yutanga or Yutanga, I'm not sure how that's said, in the Japanese version of the game. And the text at the top says, restore peace to Sarasa Land. And in the North American version, it says, join Mario in a world of strange creatures. The North American box art really loves referencing the enemies in this game on the back of the box, huh? And instead of traditional courses like shown in the North American version, in Japan, one of the pictures was replaced with Sky Pop Mario. I do really like the Sky Pop render that's on the Japanese box. I wish I put something like that in the North American box, because it does look kinda bland in the back. I'm not gonna really go too in depth about this because it'd take up the entire video, but the manual is also really different. There's scans of it online, so you could try to read it and translate it yourself. So I definitely recommend flipping through both of them and seeing the differences. Now let's move on to the revisional differences of Super Mario Land. Basically, all of the music was remixed in Revision 1 to change the way that the soundtrack utilized the Game Boy stereo sound support. There's also a few percussion tracks added. Take a listen to a few. And yeah, that's about it for revisional differences. So let's move on to Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. This is going to be super underwhelming, but I think there's only one regional difference in the entire game, and it's just the title screen. The title screen was completely redid for the international release. In the Japanese release, there's a sign pointing to a pipe that says to Mario Land, and that's completely absent in the North American release. The North American version is just kinda bland. Sure, there's more mushrooms, but I feel like the Japanese one has much more style. And yeah, that's pretty much it for regional differences. And the only real revisional differences are just a few glitches that are pretty hard to pull off anyway. So yeah, that's the regional and revisional differences of Super Mario Land 1 and 2. These games are super fun to research and dive into, although they are pretty quick ones to get through since there aren't that many differences. Next time we'll be looking at a game that's very in depth with its differences. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Comment what difference you think is the most interesting, and become a channel member if you want to help support the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.